4 days, no food, solo time in the wilderness, no technology, you're remote out there. So just a couple weeks ago, I got back from leading another group of men on our Rites of Passage experience that we call Compass. 4 days, no food, solo time in the wilderness, no technology, you're remote out there. It's one of the most incredible experiences that I've ever had in my life. I went out on my first Rite of Passage fast in 2014 when I was 27 years old. It was right before I got married. It was right around the time that I was going through this huge transition in my life. And something specific that I've done since then is I started to fast seasonally. And right before we went out on this recent Compass excursion, I did my 4-day summer solstice fast. Why do I do this? Why do I seasonal fast? What is this practice even all about? For those of you who've never experienced fasting, you know that there are so many different reasons, benefits, purposes for choosing to fast, whether you're fasting from food or fasting from water. Just about a year ago, I decided that I was going to fast for 4 days every single solstice and equinox, which is the changing of seasons from spring to summer, summer to fall, so on and so forth. Now, let me first talk about some of the benefits of this, and then I'll explain why I choose to do it and why you might consider doing this as well. Number one, if you've never gone more than a day or maybe a couple of days, usually by accident without food or water, then going without food is for an extended period of time, especially when it goes outside of your normal rhythms, is extremely edgy. It's also extremely humbling. I've gotten some of the greatest personal lessons, reflections, and insights at times when I've been going without food, because I realized that unless I choose to, or the rare occasions where I forget to eat, I rarely go more than 18 to 20 hours without consuming some sort of calories. So when I do a 4-day fast, it essentially adds up to somewhere between 96 and 108 hours, depending on when I start. That's a big difference between 18 to 20 and 96 to 108 hours. Over that course of time, I see the differences of what happens to my body and remember that there are so many people who aren't choosing to go without food. Just by the circumstance of their lives, they're going without food, whether they can't afford it, they don't have access to it. People who go without access to healthy food. And all of this reflection and insight comes up when biologically my body is abstaining from and going without having food. So that's one benefit, is just the humility of going without food and feeling the gratitude and recognizing the privilege that goes along with my life being such that I never have to go without food for that long of a period of time, and accepting and acknowledging that some people, that's their current reality. So that's one benefit. It's just the humility of the practice. Number two, for those of you who don't know anything about the science behind fasting, there's certainly way better resources than me out there to explain the deep science of it. But on a very surface level, there are healing processes that our body goes through, healing functions that are only possible when we're in a fasting state. Because there's a lot of energy, a lot of caloric output that's used just to digest and process food. So, for example, a good metaphor is when all of the kids go out of school school's out of session for the summer, it's a really great time for teachers to go and to rearrange their rooms and stock up their supplies and start planning for next year, because they don't have the same responsibilities of the kids being in there every day, which takes a lot of energy. Similarly for your body, if you're not introducing new food to be processed, to be dealt with, then we flip on these other processes and protocols within our bodies naturally to start healing things. So there's a lot of evidence out there now that they're healing things like cancers, inflammatory diseases, even injuries, soft tissue injuries that never seem to heal, that are happening when we're doing specific fasting protocols. Now, here's a good opportunity to introduce a disclaimer. I don't recommend that you fast it without first consulting a professional physician or healthcare practitioner who can speak to your readiness to do a fast. Okay, so just disclaimer, make sure you consult with your medical professionals before choosing to do something like this. And there seems to be a lot of benefit that most of us don't have access to because we're so used to being in this eating rhythm. Another benefit, all right, just the awareness that comes in my body. How much of my day is structured around and motivated by the pursuit and the preparation of food. Now, even just going for 1 day without having to prepare and having to pursue and clean up after food is incredible. And noticing the behaviors and patterns that I have around food. If I'm doing this 4 times every year, every time we change season for 4 days, that's 4 days times 4. That's 16 days where I'm eliminating food as a part of my day. I save time, I save resources, I save energy that doesn't have to be put towards thinking about food or preparing it. On the other side of things, during these 4-day fasts that I do, I'm also preparing food for my family. So there's another benefit of just the juxtaposition between watching my family eat and choosing to abstain from that myself. It's actually a really beautiful spiritual juxtaposition because I see that I'm providing and giving to my family, but I'm choosing to abstain from it myself. And it's difficult, especially when I'm making some really yummy food. I'll even vocalize and say it out loud to my wife, like, I wish I was eating that lamb with you guys. And just to express that and to say it and then let it go. And to see that it's another opportunity for me to not let my impulses override what I'm choosing, my sense of choice. So there's also that benefit of the commitment piece. Now, the last piece I want to get into is the spiritual part of this practice for me that connects me back to that first fast that I did back in 2014. It's every time that I fast for 4 days, it's like a revisiting, a reawakening of the gifts that I got from that experience. That experience was, 8 years ago now for me at the time of this recording, 8 years ago. And every time I fast, it renews all of those insights and memories and clarity points that came through when I was sitting out in nature alone without eating food for 4 days, 4 nights. It was unbelievable. And every time I do this, it's like a resetting of that clock. It also helps me orient myself to the seasonal calendar, which for me has become a really powerful way for me to incorporate my sense of spirituality and faith with the earth, with what's happening around me, very consciously, very intentionally. So for me, inspired by my brother, Sean Berry, who you guys have heard here on the podcast. He hosts the first nature segment of the Rising Man podcast. He was the first one who was doing these seasonal fasts. And I said, man, let me get into that because I feel like there's something really powerful for me there. And since then, it's become something that we do, various numbers of us at a time, but the members of the Compass community, the men who have gone out and gotten initiated, crossed that threshold with us, we do this fast together. And here's the last perk is it brings community together. It gives us one more thing that we can rally around and reconnect to together as men in this case, and also as women who've gone out and have done wilderness rites of passages in this way. So many benefits to seasonal fasting. It's something that I definitely encourage you to consider and obviously go through the proper medical protocols to make sure it's appropriate for you, but also consider utilizing a rite of passage and fasting experience to mark a significant transition in your life. So for those of you out there who have heard of Compass, who are familiar with that or have been really interested in participating in a rites of passage, we've got crews going out this fall and we still have spaces open. So I'm going to challenge you right now to go to risingman.org/compass, check out what it's all about there. And if you're interested, you can apply and set up a call with one of our team members and see if it's the right time for you to mark that threshold in your life. And even if now is not the right time, then even to begin exploring and educating yourself on fasting so that you can prepare yourself for that type of experience. Again, one of the most powerful practices that I have in my life, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it was so fresh for me, just coming off of my summer solstice fast and recently welcoming 7 more men across that threshold when we were out in California just a couple weeks ago. And I want to make sure that I share this all with you here. I hope you dig it. I hope you're interested in it. If you go out and you're fasting for your first time, man, there's nothing like going for a period of time without eating and then having that first meal. That's one more added benefit is how much gratitude I have for the food I get to put in my body when I choose to go without it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Happy fasting to all of you guys who are choosing to do that out there. And make sure you come back for next week's Monday morning meditation.